wasted nights, you piss them all away. Little children in the street, dying every day. We all look for something we can never find, and we all need peace of mind. Lonely wretch on the street, looking for love. $20 beneath the sheets. Is this all she thinks of? We all look for something.
Three, two, one.
Hey, Timmy, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, pretty good here. Nice, easygoing Thanksgiving week here. I want to thank all of my family and friends for getting the turkey ready and all the other goodies there. And the same thing to you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, Sean.
Thanks, Timmy, and I wish you the same. And to everybody who's watching the show, you know, I'm Sean Morrison. I'm the host, and Timmy's my co-host. And we've been kicking some ass on Truth, Lies, and Political Bullshit, becoming the #1 top podcast in the Capital Region. And we ain't going to be doing no live show because I'll be cooking turkey. And yeah, you heard that right. I will be cooking the turkey.
Yeah, me too. I do it here as well.
So now you got Dumb and Dumber trying to figure out how to cook turkey.
Yeah.
Timmy, listen, I found the secret. I'll tell you a funny story. About
Yeah.
40 years ago, my mom was cooking her first turkey, and we were kind of younger kids, obviously. Maybe it's 45 years now. And she started the oven on fire, and the fire department had to come. All the fire trucks, the smoke's pouring out of the oven. My uncle, Louis Lawton, God bless him, and I miss him, and I got to work with him. I'm so blessed as a firefighter years later. He shows up at the house, and he says, "Hell, Loretta, what are you doing?" She says, "I don't know." So he opens the stove. Sorry, he opens the stove. He pulls the shit out, and he says, "No, don't worry about it, Loretta. The button still hasn't popped up in your turkey." He closed the door, put it back in. The fire department left, and 25 minutes later, the button popped up. And I realized that if you could burn the turkey in the oven and still not have the button popped up, I'm sure I could cook a freaking turkey.
Well, you know, my first experience cooking a turkey here, I was young, you know, probably about 24, 25 with the wife. And I get done cooking my turkey. And when I get pulling on out and everything, I said, what the hell is all this shit here? Turns out I left the neck and all the gizzards and all that stuff. It's still inside the turkey.
Well,
I had no idea you had to pull that stuff out of there.
Two turkeys telling you their turkey story. But hey, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. There's nothing more important than spending time with the people you love. You know, it's been a real crazy election. And one of the things that I noticed, and it really bothered me, was how many people were in fights with their own family, where people stopped talking to each other over an election. And I often say to myself, do I want to be that person that would not talk to people I love over something like a disagreement in politics?
Yeah.
But there's so many people that are doing it, Timmy. It's insane. And we talked about it last week and on the podcast. We even had some videos of doctors telling people to stay away from their family. These psychiatrists, these fucking cuckoo birds who are supposed to be the people telling you what's wrong with your mind. And they're saying, oh, just stay away. It's okay. They didn't vote the way you like, so they're hurting your life. Bullshit. We disagree all the time. I've disagreed with my brothers, my mothers, my fathers, my kids all the time.
Yeah.
But I would die for them. I'd go outside and take a bullet in the head for them. I can never imagine not talking to them.
Well, I think part of the problem too is the media caused so much division in the country. Okay, with falsehoods, lies, and everything. You're going to lose this. You're going to lose that. That it just divided the country. You know.
But even so, Timmy, come on, you got to use your own brain.
That's true.
I watch all those, national media. They do make your head spin. But then you got to shut the freaking TV off and you got to use your own brains and you got to think about your life and what's best for your life and how's this country going to be shaped that will help you, even if the person that you hated wins.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've said this a long time ago. People didn't vote for Donald Trump. They voted against Kamala Harris. They voted against the policies that people felt like were destroying their lives on an everyday adventure going to the grocery store. You couldn't, you get 3 bags and it's $180, right? You got people jumping the border. You see people getting murdered, men playing sports against women. There's all these far, far left from the center policies. That's what people voted against.
Yep, I agree, yes.
Yeah, right. And they're not smart enough to me to even realize it because as I'm watching TV, thinking again that the temperature is going to be turned down a little, the Democrats. I am a Democrat my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm eccentric, right? I'm a middle of the road guy, right? I don't stand right in the middle of the road because then you get hit by traffic coming from both directions. But I'm a little more conservative than I am so far liberal, right?
Yeah.
But now we are so far to the edge that even a Democrat who's been part of this party for 50 years questions who's leading the ship.
Yeah. Yep.
And the people, these governors, the mayors, all of these freaking people, Timmy,
declaring sanctuary cities to resist an open border is stupid.
Yeah, they're talking about let's start a revolution. Did they not hear the will of the people?
Well, I ask you this question, Sean. Say even if you were mayor, right? If you decided to defy the federal government who has authority, okay, to say we're a sanctuary city, you're not coming in here to deport people who are here unlawfully, why don't you get arrested?
Timmy, they came after me for $500.
I know it, but they should.
With agents surrounding my house like I was
right.
some kind of murderer.
Just because you're in office, okay, doesn't mean that you can't be prosecuted for violating federal law. And I think this is what needs to be done to these people.
You've seen them; they prosecute Republicans.
Yeah, they do.
Pick on little Democrats who stand up to the Cuomo family.
Yep.
Right?
That's you. Yep.
Right. I'm still offering this up. I want to do a fundraiser. I want to put me and Cuomo in the ring, no gloves, and whoever wins donates all the money to some charity because that's the scumbags of the world. Them people.
Yeah,
those are the people, Timmy, that get into power and use it for destruction, to build their own wealth and their own power to control people. You've seen it with 9/11. You see it with the border. You see it with transsexuals in sports.
And you see it destroying our military. And you see all these guys, okay, dressing up as women, okay, pretending to be, harming women and destroying women's sports, okay? Look at it. It's really that simple. If you're 2 X's, you're female. And I don't care what people want to argue with me over on Facebook or social media. The bottom line is, okay, if you want to be a transition or whatever like that, you want to call yourself, do it on your own time, but don't ram it down my throat.
Listen, we talked about this 1,000 times.
Yeah, we did.
People can live the way they want to until it affects the lives of other people. And I can live the way I want. I can listen to the music I want. But if I turn it up too loud and it's bothering my neighbor has a right to call the police and say, hey, he's too loud, right?
Yes.
And the cops come and say, hey, you got to lower the music. So why is it any different when a man transitions into a woman only by virtue of changing their clothes? Okay.
Yeah.
Why do they have
putting on makeup and a wig? Yeah.
Right. Why do they have protections to go into the woman's room when little girls are in there? Where's their protection?
Right.
But that's we've argued this to the turn blue.
As a dad, I mean, are you going to stay in there and watch this guy walk into the bathroom where your little daughter is in there? I don't think so.
Absolutely not. But
grab him by the neck and throw him out.
The moral of the story is that ever since Trump won, instead of trying to see this transition of people come together, the mainstream media and these moron Democratic mayors in cities that have been destroyed by their policies.
And they didn't get the message.
They continue to stand up, pound their chest.
Yep.
And you hear them say, Trump will have to come through me. Well, he'll come through you like a tsunami. And if
Hmm.
the federal government wants to stop all this shit, here's what they'll do. Any federal funds, we're cutting you off.
Yep.
And guess what? The people will say, we liked you, but because of your policies, we're getting decimated here. We got to elect somebody else. That's what will happen.
Well,
Kathy
25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada
put
right now.
25% tariffs on Kathy Sheen in Albany. For
Yeah.
Christ's sake. Did
Yeah.
you
Cut
see
their
this
funding.
woman? Did you see this woman? This is the mayor, the worst mayor probably ever in the history of mayors across the country. She becomes the mayor of Albany after Jerry.
Yep.
The city of Albany is a pretty good city under Jerry. It's the capital of New York, and within a short period of time, this woman has destroyed it. She has destroyed it.
Yeah.
And
It's a
here we are
sanctuary
now.
city now.
Well, here we are now, acting like sanctuary cities is something good. Let's be honest. It is a place to harbor criminals.
Hmm.
That's
Sure
all it
is.
is. It doesn't make your city safer. It allows you to take rapists and murderers and all kinds of crazy people from other countries that have never been vetted and hide them in your city. You just seen it in Boston. This asshole mayor in Boston. Think
Yep.
about this, Timmy. 3 men raping or doing things to little girls, okay? And she's protecting them and hiding them against ICE. Come
Yeah.
on.
And this
What is the-
happened, right? And this happened in another state. One guy was arrested for rape, illegal. They let him out of jail, and hours later, what's he do? He rapes another woman.
Where's the common sense of everyday people to say, vote her the hell out of office?
Yep.
How I don't give a shit what you feel in way of liberal policies, your wokeness, this bullshit where
Yep.
people's value doesn't rise to the top, but it's your sexuality or your make pretend vision of who you are is more important than
Hmm.
the good qualities people have. And so we just we throw people out of jobs and we decimate people with this woke attitude. But even if you have all of those crazy thoughts in your head, how can you support harboring people that are raping little girls? How can you be the mayor of a city that says we're not going to get involved and we're not turning these people over to you? Why wouldn't she be immediately put into a fucking room that's got padded walls and let her bang her head off the wall for a couple hours because she's got to be nuts?
To me, in a sense, it's aiding and abetting this stuff.
It is something. It is
That's
something.
what I think.
I want to jump over to this next one. Let me cut over to this next slide to me because this is exactly what we're talking about. This is the mayor of Albany, a sanctuary city that has seen more gun violence, murder, shootings, rapes than we've ever seen in the history of Albany. All under her watch, all because of her policies, all because she wants to play along with her little friends who are woke and far, far, far left. I'm not even talking about people that are left to center, man, because that's okay. But when you get to the point where you're hiding rapists from that rape little girls, that's not politics. That's psychotic. That's crazy. But take a listen to this lady.
A city prioritized for newcomers, but it's compromising the very fabric of community safety.
A sanctuary city is a place where all people who are here are welcomed and all are safe. A sanctuary city is a safer city because we want to ensure that people who are coming here from countries all over the world know that this is a place where we are here to help them, where we are here to ensure that they have access to an education, they have access to jobs, they have access to the very things that our immigrant forefathers and mothers sought for themselves.
Now, Timmy, let me just, how do I say it? That is a true moron. A woman that should never be leading other people. Sanctuary cities are safer?
No, they're not.
Safer for who? The people that are raping little girls because you hide them and refuse to turn them over to the federal authorities. I guess it's safer for them. Is it safer for the ones being raped and murdered? And talk about education? I hate to say it, But every day, Albany in their school system, it's like going to the OK Corral. There's fights, there's knives being pulled, there's teachers getting punched. It's a horrible city of policies. It's not a horrible
Yeah.
city of good people, because there's a lot of good people in Albany. Some of the best people, the brightest people, the smartest people. But when you let the cream of the crop fall to the bottom and you raise up the animals and give them all of the protections and all of the money and all of the benefits, how can you then look your people in the eye and say, this is the greatest city, the greatest capital, New York State, Albany, New York? Bullshit.
Well, add on top of this, Sean, okay, all of the things that she says that we're going to give them, education, this, healthcare, jobs, okay, at what expense does it come? I mean, these people here, they don't pay taxes. Okay, they just arrive over our borders and everything is handed to them. What's handed to you? What's handed to me for free? Okay, where can I get free health care? I can walk into a hospital and get free hair. Where can I just get any kind of a job just handed to me? This is what these people are talking about. They cater to these people as if they're some kind of dignitaries, when in reality, Sean, they're here unlawfully, and they should come into the country lawfully if they want to be entitled to all this kind of help. Not you don't reward them for coming in illegally.
But if
And
you're
that's
one
what
of them,
sanctuary cities do.
why do you think these people are coming over the border? Because morons like her are saying,
Right.
come to Albany. First of all, Albany is not safe.
No, it's not.
Okay. Secondly, she can't even take care of her own people. Drive through Albany, and by the
Yeah.
time you get from one end to the other, you've had about 400 people begging you for money.
Yep, that's true.
There's so many people who are struggling with mental illness, that are unemployed, that are living in the streets, including veterans. And she does nothing for them. She's good for a little soundbite.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
she's
it.
good for. Because she's done shit for the city. It's dirty. It's empty. You heard you heard Lobo from the what was it, for the college games?
Rebecca Lobo during
Rebecca
the
Lobo.
tournament, women's tournament here, saying there's nothing to do in Albany.
There's nothing to do in Albany because there's nothing to do in Albany. And they wanted to
Right.
yell at her when in fact she was just telling the truth. You
Yes.
go to Albany at 4 o'clock, it's dead. If it wasn't for state workers and county workers, there'd be nothing in that city. It would be something like apocalyptic. It'd be like zombie land.
Right. The only thing that
go to
was
the-
happening actually in Albany was the college tournament, the women's
If it
college.
wasn't
That
for-
was it. I mean, and look, I thought it was great when you had um, teams like Notre Dame, UCLA, South Carolina coming to Albany to play, but we had nothing for them other than their event.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's sad.
it's
sad.
was
she's-
bad,
And for her to go out publicly right after the United States of America held its elections,
Yeah.
and the people were loud and clear. Hey, Kathy, we don't want sanctuary cities. We don't want open borders. We don't want the tulip queen to be a boy. We don't want boys beating up girls in sports. And what is her response? She comes out and stands there and says, okay, everybody, I know that's not what you want, but sanctuary cities are beautiful. They're great. They're safe.
She must be getting government money. That's the only
She's getting
thing I could
government
think
money, but she's a moron, and
Yeah.
that's what you get from a moron. People have to have courage of their convictions. They don't.
Yeah.
You could tell it was orchestrated, right? Somebody picked up the phone and said to all these governors and mayors, come out strong against, we're going to stop Trump. Well, first of all, you're not stopping Trump. You're stopping the American people from achieving what it is that they wanted to achieve through their elections, right? That's the
I
first
agree.
thing.
Yep, sure did. We sent
Trump
the
just
sound
happens to be
message.
the leader. Yes. He just happens to be the guy delivering the message. But these people who have already ruined their cities, ruined their states, who are still in power, still going against the fray, still going against everything that the American people have said, are still out there trying to block progress.
They doubled down, okay, and they're not going to get away with this time. I think you're seeing more and more of these woke policies. They're backing away from now, and every day, and that's not enough. But look at until the federal government comes right down hard and says no more women, okay, in men, no more men and women's sports, and is supported by the court system, okay, all the way through. That's when I think it's going to end, okay, because
Oh,
you can't allow the minority like this run a nation, and that's what's going on.
I've always said the majority rules, the minority has a right to be heard and respected, but
Yep.
we've taken a different approach because there could be no way in the world that the majority of people support the open borders and
No.
and transition from men to women into sports. That transition just doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is Trump won the popular vote and he won the electoral college, and that's a statement to the Democrats. It's the
Mm-hmm.
statement to the party I
Yeah.
belonged to my whole life. You're leaving your own people. It
Yeah.
would be like Moses coming and freeing the slaves, but going the opposite way, right?
Yeah.
And
Right. Going into Saudi Arabia
yeah,
with
it
them.
just makes no sense to
Yeah.
me. It's like, come on, if you're going to be the leader and take your people out of the terrible, country that we're in right now, then lead them in the right direction. Don't put up roadblocks because the people spoke. Most people in this country don't know they're elected officials. You know that,
In
right?
California, there's most of that state is a red, okay? Just like New York State,
Yeah, but
most of it is a red state. You just got these extremely large populations, okay, that are keeping us blue, like New York City. If you didn't have New York City with a heavy Democrat population, New York would be a red state, and I truly believe that.
I believe it would be too. I don't want to be a red state. I want to be
Right.
a blue state that stands in the middle, that understands its people, stands up and says, listen, our job is for good. Our job as elected officials are simple: bring good jobs to the people, protect the people, put in policies so that they don't get hit over the head with a hammer and the next day the guy's out doing it again. These are the
Yeah.
policies that were once strong Democratic policies: good
Yeah.
education, giving people a helping hand. You know what we've turned the country into? And this is the reality. This is why it's hard to be a Republican and win the popular vote, because the majority of people in this country are living off the system. Of a big majority of the people live off the system. And the people who are in power keep making sure that those people are fed the crumbs so that they feel like they're getting something, right? I mean, how many people have spent their life, Timmy, on welfare when
A
it should
lot of
have been
people
a
and they stay on there for an awful long time.
generations
There's
and
no
generations?
incentive to get off of it.
No, we put them on there and make them think that this is the best they can be in life.
And the same thing with SNAP,
Well, it's
which is
when I
this
say
free
it's
food.
It's all of it. It's
Yeah.
all of these entitlement policies. Listen,
Hmm.
I lived on those policies. I ate that orange cheese. I
Yeah.
shared clothes with my brothers. I know what it's like to live a difficult life. A mom raising three kids by herself, it was not easy. Okay.
Hmm.
And my mother would say, we're going to use this system until we can get on our feet. And then she would go out there and work at Barclays Home Products at night, work down at the Madden shipyard in the daytime, making peanuts, right?
Yeah.
But she
Yep.
understood that the system was there to help you, not
Yeah.
to provide you a lifetime of peanuts, because that's all it is.
Yep.
If you want to sit home your whole life and say that I'm just going to collect some food stamps, I'm going to collect some social services, and this is my life, and somehow you find that fulfilling, I feel bad for you because you're
You know,
better than that.
you
But
know
the
what's going.
government,
Yeah, and you know what's going on, Sean, in North Carolina ever since it's Hurricane Helene. Okay, people are living in tents right now, right? And you got CPS and FEMA going in there and telling these people, your kids cannot be living in these inside these tents with you, and they're trying to take their kids away.
yeah, because
If
it's
that was
all about
happening to
control.
me, I'd say the okay, you people get out of here before you get shot in the head for attempted kidnapping. Okay, you
Well,
know,
the reality is isn't that? Why
Yeah.
government's backwards?
Isn't it crazy? It's
Yeah,
backward. You're trying to you get hit with a disaster. You manage to get a tent. You're living inside a tent when you used to have a home, and then they come after your kids, saying this is unsuitable for children. You
Timmy,
got to be kidding me.
look at I'm not a. I say this all the time. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm becoming one. I never thought I was a conspiracy guy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I really never did until after 9/11. I still look at those towers and wonder how they collapsed in that manner. And the only time I've ever seen a big building collapse in that manner is when it's set up for demolishment, right? And the dynamite goes off and it goes boom, boom, boom. And ever since then, I keep thinking to myself, is there really crazy shit that goes on? Or am I just becoming so sad of what I see that I'm looking for an answer that's just crazy, right? But I believe they're out there cloud seeding and putting poison in the air and trying to control the rain and doing things that only God should be doing. And we as a nation, we see other nations doing it, right? And so how does a hurricane, and I got to get somebody on the show who's a specialist, because how does a hurricane put so much damage into people living so high above sea level? How does that happen? From the rain? I mean, is it like the Hawaii fires? How does these fires start and
Well,
wipe out all of these houses and communities, and at the same time they're burning? We let our kids out of school to walk home.
Well,
I
if you
mean,
look at some of these fires that happen, like out in Maui and stuff like that, okay, you'll have cars that are torched, that are burnt to a crisp, okay, but a tree right next to them, unharmed at all.
well,
How
then you
does
get,
that happen?
why do you have all these people trying to buy up the property in Hawaii right after the fires?
Right after the fire,
These are
yeah.
properties that have been handed down to generation after generation in some of the most beautiful spots, overlooking some of the most beautiful,
Yeah. And it's owned by the
areas,
Nable tribes and
waters.
stuff like that.
That's right. And now all
You
of a
know,
sudden you got multi-zillionaires in there saying, "Oh, you can't build here," and the government's trying to stifle building permits and all this shit. And the rich people are coming in offering them all kinds of money to buy their property. Isn't that insane? Isn't
yeah,
that just crazy? And what's going on in North Carolina, right?
yeah.
Isn't that a place where there's a bunch of minerals in the ground that they want, and now
Yeah,
there's no
lithium.
houses there, right? And are they offering people all this money to buy their land? Is there a conspiracy theory? Is there shit going on?
Yeah.
I mean, the wealthy have become so wealthy beyond imagination. Now, I'm not saying people of wealth are bad people, right? But some of the people scare the shit out of me,
Yeah,
because
some
it
of the shit
seems
that's
to
going
me,
on.
well, it just seems that everywhere there's a natural disaster, they're there to show up to buy the land from everybody, or try to pay the government to take the land. All those kids died walking home from a fire. All these people drowned who live up in the mountains from a
Well,
flood.
and as we spoke about in earlier shows, how is it that we managed to lose 350,000 children just disappeared? Did you see what was on TV recently? A little 2-year-old girl in line, okay, to come across. First off, how many 2-year-olds, can speak language that thoroughly, okay, and understand when a guy's talking to him, asking this 2-year-old little girl there if she's alone and she came by herself. No, you got these mules, bringing them across the border and then hand them a note and do this and that. It's insane what's
She
going
had the
on.
phone number for her
Yeah,
mom.
phone number and a piece of paper.
And
But
I,
how does that happen? Where are the parents and why are these people getting away with doing this stuff? It's
Jimmy, I want to add
crazy.
another layer to the show, and I didn't have a chance to do it.
Yeah,
As
but
everybody knows, our small podcast, we put it together ourselves, so it's really time consuming. But
yeah.
there was a situation on the news where an 11-year-old kid walked to the store, and the cops came. I think it was in Georgia. The cops came and arrested the mother for letting the 11-year-old kid walk to the store.
Yeah, it was
For
a
endangering
1 mile
the kid.
walk. Right. The boy,
Yeah.
when I was a kid, Sean, I would walk from Congress Street up to the high school.
We walked from Saratoga sites up
Yeah,
to the middle school.
right. Okay. In
You know,
the city in which you felt was safe at the time, okay, And that's what I did as a kid. So this mom lets a boy walk to a mile into town, which she felt was safe, and she
Yeah.
gets arrested.
Yes. And at the same time, the lawyer made a great point.
Mhm.
Tomorrow is Halloween, and there'll be 500 kids coming up to her door knocking all by themselves, a strange house holding a
Yeah,
bag asking for candy.
yeah,
And nothing happens to their parents, right?
right, right.
And you got people coming across the border with little babies holding notes. So what I would have
Mhm.
done is I would have called that number, brought the child to there, and arrested the parents for letting
Mhm.
their kid come across the border. But no, we let the bad things happen like they're normal and let the
Yep.
normal things happen like there's something wrong with them. Listen,
Yeah.
I was a tough parent on my kids, walking, sleeping over. My kids never slept over nobody's house. Okay.
Mhm.
That was my own, I had my own reasons for it. They never slept over nobody's house. My son was 11 years old when he got to walk to school by himself. I wouldn't let
Mhm.
my daughters walk to school by themselves because I was always afraid, hey, my son is 11, he can run. My daughters are little tiny kids. What happens? I personally had a lot of things always going through my mind. One, because I was a firefighter, right? So I seen bad things happen.
Yep.
You're always a lot more cautious. And two, I was just a cautious man because I knew we lived in a fucked up world where people are crazy. And
Yep.
but at 11 years old, he walked from Riverwalk to Van Skyke.
Yeah.
Should I have been locked up because I finally at 11 said my son is big enough to walk with his friends over to
Right.
or he'd walk to the park to play baseball?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, I was 10 years old, 9 years old, walking to the park by myself.
Yeah.
Should they
And
arrested my
yeah.
mother?
When
I
I
mean,
was 8 years old, I would walk from Congress Street up to Lighthall Avenue where the Little League field
yeah,
was just to play baseball.
it's insane.
It's
That's the
insane.
world we live
This
in.
woman here lets her boy walk into town and she gets arrested for it. It's crazy how things are, parental rights are being stripped away and they need to be restored. And I think any parent out there knows that, especially in the public school systems where, Sean, this public school or in which we all pay taxes to, they seem to have their own entity where they could say you can't do this on our property, you can't come here or you're trespassing. My taxpayers support that stuff. Why ain't it my property too?
Timmy, listen, this is what I believe. Maybe as I
Yeah.
get older, I'm getting a little crazier. Maybe my diabetes is
Hmm.
screwing up my brain. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at every corner, you are seeing something that takes a little piece of your rights away.
Yeah, your liberties. Yep.
Right. And every little piece is about taking complete control. Nine
Hmm.
11, right? When 9/11 hit,
Yep.
all of these new rules went into place.
Yep. And
COVID,
they
all
right.
of these new rules went into place. Every
Yeah, and
one
they
of them.
created these FISA courts or whatever you want to
Well, that's
call
what I'm
them.
saying. Every little thing they did, Bitcoins, not having, don't take cash no more. Put a little chip in your fucking hand so that we can make sure that when you go to the grocery store, if you have a parking ticket, we
You wave your hand, they say,
we
"Oh, you
we,
can't buy that.
we dead in your chip and it
You
says
can't buy a
sorry.
can of spray paint
Yes, right.
without getting ID'd, but you
Every
gotta. But you can vote without one."
just think about it, people.
Yeah,
I'm not being crazy here. Just think about it for a minute.
yeah,
Ask yourself if every day something is being chipped away from your life. COVID to me was a opportunity for a government, all governments, to see how far they can control their people. They shut us
hmm,
out. We couldn't go to restaurants. We couldn't walk outside. We had to put masks on. Take a vaccination that we don't know a whole lot about. Tell your neighbor that you're going to kill them and their children because you won't wear the mask. Cause mass
yeah,
confusion. Make everybody fight. Turn every death into a COVID death. What will happen? If you don't think this is true, you're going to find out when Elon Musk starts breaking down all of the funds that are going to these things like having shrimp running on a little treadmill for
right. For
$500
$100 million study. Yeah,
to determine, how their bodies react should they get some kind of poison put in it and all
yeah,
these things.
yeah.
This is not just like, it's not make
I'm
believe.
convinced that money is funneled back to somebody in some way. Okay,
Well,
they're
it's
not
always
doing those
funneled back.
experiments.
What is the purpose of taking a disease that's been eradicated
Yeah,
and then manipulating it so it can turn into something else and kill half the world?
Yeah.
and say that you're doing it in the interest of learning how to prevent these diseases. If they're
Yeah.
dead, let them be dead. We
Yeah.
don't need to know what will happen if you turn rabies into cancer and shoot it into a mouse. Or
Well, they especially when they have the vaccine ready before the disease is out.
that's what I'm saying. It's scary. I want to just
Yep.
sit on the beach, open a cooler, drink a beer. If I could grow dreadlocks, I'd never wash my hair and sit there in my shorts and flip flops for the rest of my life, because the world is becoming so complicated, so confusing,
Yep.
so angry that I don't see anything other than constant turmoil. Look, I'm a God fearing man, Timmy. You know I am, right? I could be better. I'm a sinner. I believe God is the answer to all things, good and bad. He'll get us through it all. But in the meantime, the world is an evil place, and the heart is an evil spot, right? Your heart is the
Hmm.
most evil part of your body. And the people out there who are in charge, I almost feel like they want to have rich beyond rich and poor beyond poor. We'll control them. They'll have to listen to everything we do. We already know they're scared. They wear masks. We lock them in their houses. They'll put chips in their hands.
Yeah.
We can do anything we want with these people because, they're a bunch of dodo birds and they just fall in line. Jim Jones got people to drink Kool-Aid to kill them so they can go see God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people put it in their freaking hands.
Mm.
Couldn't
You
wait
know,
to drink it down.
we
And
got to
then the
get
ones that
kids.
didn't, hang on, Timmy, let me just finish.
Right.
The ones that didn't drink it down, what did they do? They shot and killed them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying about the world we live in today. That's where they're pushing.
Crazy. I go and buy a case of beer or a 6-pack of beer like that, and you got a young girl out of high school or whatever running the register, and they ask me for my ID. I said, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah, she's
Okay,
got to.
you can't use common sense and see that I'm over 21. Furthermore,
Over
these
61.
students nowadays, you give them $1 for something that's 76 cents, and they can't make the change in their own head.
No,
Okay,
it's
come
a world.
on."
It is a world that has become
We declined. We're not getting
dependent.
better.
No, because we become dependent
Yes.
on
Yeah.
some kind of technology. We
Yeah.
become dependent on some kind of, media advice, trying to, lock our brains into believing something that we see isn't what
Right.
we really see. I mean, just think about this. Just listen. I've argued with people over the border, yet right in front of their freaking eyes, they're
Yeah.
showing it on TV. Hundreds and hundreds of people marching towards the border, and they'd be like, "No, the borders ain't open." I go, "What do you mean they're not open? Use your eyes. Look
Yeah.
right there." "Oh, no, no. The president said this, and CNN said this, and ABC said this, and blah blah blah." I go, "Dude, what is wrong with you? If
Yeah.
you can see it with your own eyes, don't believe what other people who own and manipulate the data are trying to tell you, because now you're being controlled. Just open your eyes." And they
Hmm.
still don't open their eyes, Tim. To
Yeah.
this day, they're still arguing the border's closed. 20
Yeah.
million people, rapes, murders. The border's safe. The border's closed.
Well,
People that come.
Sean, right, and it's heartbreaking, really, when you think about this 2-year-old girl in a nice new pink coat, okay, standing there with a note in her hand, okay, and that's not a wake up call to this country. And why aren't we doing something to Mexico for allowing this?
Well,
Okay,
we are
on
in
our southern border,
about 2 months.
2 more months, I say special forces go in there, militarily get rid of those cartels,
I think the most
whatever it
important
takes.
thing for people to do is to sit back, relax, stop fighting with each other,
Yeah.
stop believing everything you're told, listen and learn for yourself, and watch what happens. And then only then will you be informed.
Hmm.
Because I'm going to tell you, I do believe there's going to be a time when the government's going to control you. They're going to control where you get your food.
Yep. They're already
You're
doing
gonna-
it.
Right. I mean, you're right. You see it. You see right now you have China and you have Bill Gates owning more farmland in this country than anybody else in the world.
You got Soros buying 200 radio stations.
Yes,
Why?
right. He owns they want to control the airwaves. They want to control the food. They want to control. Why would you let China buy the farmland in the United
Next to a
States.
military base. Yeah.
Next to them or not. Why would you
Yeah.
let them buy it? No
At
farmland
all.
should. If there should be a law that says if farmland goes up for sale and nobody wants to buy it from the United States and a private sale, the government will buy it to preserve it to ensure farms. But no,
Yeah.
they want you to stop eating cows because they fart. They've only been farting since the beginning of time, Timmy.
Right.
There ain't no
Yeah.
cow farting our way into climate control. I promise you that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Climate control is being
A foreign country like China, anyway, no matter whatever, should not be able to buy just land in another country.
well. Look at the United States is.
We're
I guess
stupid.
I guess we've allowed people who have their own self-interest above
Yep.
ours to control our lives. And
Yeah.
and look at I can understand because when you go against the fray, when you fight
Hmm.
up to current, when you fight those bastards,
Yeah.
you better be ready to be destroyed because they will kill you.
Yep.
They killed me.
Hmm.
I'm still standing, but they killed me in a lot of ways.
Yep.
They would have killed Donald Trump if he didn't have $12 billion and been and had the ability to become the president.
And some
I've
kind
seen
of a
them.
guardian angel over him.
I've seen them destroy little guys like me every time you
Yep.
stand up to fight against the fray. There's not a man in the world that I hate
Mhm.
other than Cuomo. I hate that
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I really, really hate him because he is a man of destruction, a man of ego, a man of pride. One of the worst things that you can have. God will tell you, don't be proud of yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
That guy's got pride. He's got ego. And the truth is, there's a million of guys like that. They just need to control you and your life because that's what they were born to do. They're evil people. And that's what's the country's, the
And
country's.
they get away with everything.
I'm not going to tell you that the Republicans are any better, man. The
Yeah.
Republicans waste money. They invest in people that we wouldn't invest in. There are a lot of rich people. They all have their own. It's almost like the rich have decided to be the Hatfields versus the McCoys, and they battle out, and the win is us, the peasant,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you take a look at Mark Cuban, right? A billionaire. Okay, you think he'd be smarter than he is. He goes on The View and says that Trump doesn't surround himself with smart,
Yeah,
intelligent
I heard
women.
it.
You know, it's insane that he would even say that. With some of the women around Trump are extremely smart, intelligent. Okay, and for him as a billionaire to label them like that, he really hurt. Okay, I think the Harris campaign by degrading women the way he did. But hey, we got to get on to some other things like what's going on in Cohoes. We got
There you
a little
go.
bit of news.
Here's what's going on, Cohoes, and this is probably one of the saddest days for me.
Yep.
Table 41 is another victim of the Bill Keeler administration, probably the worst mayor the city will ever have, who is the worst mayor that the city's ever
Yep.
seen.
Turning Remsen Street into a ghost town. Yep.
This man could have sat back behind his desk and did nothing and had the best city in the capital region, but he chose to think that he was smarter and better, and he's destroyed it. So
Yeah.
it's Table 41. They wrote a letter and it says, "Dear friends, it's with a heavy heart we announce this Friday will be our last day of operation.
Mhm.
After decades full of unforgettable memories, laughter, and community, we say goodbye." I'm going to tell you why my heart hurts, because I built a vision for this city, and it was totally opposite than the last 50 years, right?
Yeah.
Outside of Bobby Signoracci and my uncle George, who had some sense of direction, okay? I realized that building a city had to be done the complete opposite than all these people have tried to do before, which is bring in businesses that cannot succeed because there's nobody to take care of the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Table One sat down with me in my office, and we talked about Cohoes, and he talked about how excited he was to see a city that was completely dead, so vibrant. The music hall
Yeah.
was booming. Cops walking the beat to ensure the safest street in the capital region.
Clean
Restaurants
streets.
were flourishing. The biggest issue we had at the time was, where the hell will everybody park? So we were going to put a parking garage across the street from the music hall or on the side of the music hall in the city and be able to park another 150, 200 cars, because our biggest dilemma wasn't, will people come and make Cohoes the destination? We already achieved that. It's where were they going to park so more people could come?
Well, Sean, and I'll tell you when it started. It started when Keeler first took office. The first thing he did was when, after Spade's Lounge, a new business in which Napier gave him money for a facade and for this and for that, and they got all the permits and they invested all this money to fix inside and everything on White Street, right? And the first thing Keeler did was what? Fires a letter off to the state liquor authority to deny them a liquor license, okay, based on whatever he had in his mind. Oh, they're the biker gang and drugs or whatever. But the bottom line, okay, is that happened, and you didn't. To me, it was the beginning of the downfall, okay, of where we are today.
Well, there's, I'll say
Look at right, and as a former mayor, there may be certain businesses that you desire and you don't desire, but those businesses have a right to try to make it on their own, have a clean business. But you either succeed or fail on your own.
Timmy, I as the mayor of a city that was struggling just to stay afloat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look where we are now today, what we have on Ripson Street.
I realize this, right?
Yeah.
You do have to try to have businesses that bring something to the community.
Yeah, that can make it.
Otherwise, they will not succeed. And you don't want to put somebody in business and give them high hopes when you know that 3 months from now, they'll invest all the little money they have and they'll be closing the doors, right? Yeah. The city of Cohoes is 16,000 people strong, maybe a little more now. I don't know what the census.
17, under 17 and a half.
Yeah, and I think the city did a terrible job with the census, and it cost them hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's another issue about this failed administration. But here's the problem. If you want to have a city that flourishes, it has to have a lot of people. And if it doesn't have a lot of people, it then has to become a city of a destination for some reason. Why will people show up? That's why I turned the music hall into the #1 rated music hall, because I understood that we could bring in 25, 30,000 people a year to walk Ransom Street. Mm-hmm. Then we started Rock the Block that could bring in another 10 or 15,000 people. Now you got 45,000 people. Then I went to people to build high-end apartments so people could live on the street and funnel their disposable income right there on Ransom Street to all of the businesses. So between building high-end apartments with people who have disposable income, young professionals, music halls, Rock the Blocks, and an enormous amount of events that drew people to the city, we became a destination. So you could have 5 restaurants on a street in a city that only has 16,000 people, because you weren't relying on the good people of Cohoes who can only go out so many times a week, right? You weren't relying on them to survive, because you would die. You had to have people coming into the city every day for some reason. And it was music. It was arts. It was good restaurants. It was safe streets. They could walk down the street and see a cop every second that they're walking down the street. 10 o'clock at night, they could walk back to the music hall where they parked their car, and the police could be walking right behind them. They felt safe. They felt comfortable. The city had a vibe to it that was beautiful. The music hall was gorgeous. There was events going on all the time. Keeler wins. He takes down the Cohoes Proud signs. That's the first mistake I think he made. The second mistake, he hires a guy like Steve Napier who knows nothing about economic development, and that's clear because now every business is moving out, and they're more concerned about building shit shacks for Christmas that shows one person renting one and the rest of them sitting there vacant, and finally throwing away the $25,000 worth of product, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of reasons the city has failed. You have a DPW commissioner who tells a city councilman that they can't clean up the downtown and pull the weeds. They just don't have time. Like digging holes and doing something else is more important than keeping the city looking like a fresh new
down 8 guys too. Well, that's because everybody's leaving.
we'll talk about that under the Cohoes section, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
I just want to say to the owner of Table 41 and all of his friends and family, I'm truly sorry because I know that I sold a vision to you, and I thought that vision would go on for a long time. And unfortunately, the vision of downtown now is desolate, dirty. And I was there last night. I went to Smith's, had a great sandwich. I had a beer, and half a dozen people in there. But outside that, everything else was closed.
Yeah.
Garbage in the streets, all of the nice landscaping, the trees snapped in half, and I just couldn't believe. I couldn't believe what I seen. I just could not believe that this guy who calls himself a Cohoesier, the mayor of our city, has zero pride. Timmy, he will go down in history as the worst mayor the city's ever seen. Steve Napier will go down in history as the worst economic development leader we ever had. And I got a
I've
message.
seen no economic development since
None.
he's
We
taken
had $80
office.
million, which
The
is
only thing he does is sell parking lots.
we had $80 million the first
Yeah.
year that we're in. We seen some new construction, and sadly, like anything else, man, you can point your finger at the construction owners and say, "Oh, these are shitholes." First of all, they're not. When they were built, there were great people living in them, but they have to pay. They have to pay the mortgage. And guess what happens when the city fails? When the city fails the businesses and it fails all of these new homes and everything else, they start renting them out to just anybody and everybody because they got to pay the bills. And then you're back into the vicious cycle of turning a dead downtown that was full of drugs into a utopia downtown that was rated number 3 for the first time in the history. Okay?
Yeah.
Back to a drug-infested city that has a $3 million park that was one of the most gorgeous, which is now a drinking fest, pot smoking, and heroin checkpoint. Because when we went over there, what did we find, Tim? Needles laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Beer cans, condoms, all of the equipment broke.
Dog shit all over. Yeah.
Just all you have to do is, if you're sitting in the mayor's office, you go like this, and you can see that park.
Yeah, you can.
You
and
can see
plus,
that
there's cameras there all around there, but I don't think they're working.
And they have failed the city. And I don't care what people say. I'm telling you, he's failed the city. You'll hear it in a couple seconds. He hasn't failed himself or his family, that's for sure, or his buddies. But he's failed Table 41. And if it wasn't for Smith's, who bought Daisy's across the street, they'd be closed. Now, my understanding, I never talked to the guy personally, but people told me he bought it because he did not want to have his business surrounded by closed up bars, because it sends a bad message to people who go out. I'm not going to Cohoes. All them bars are closed. It's dirty. It's dingy. This guy, you got to give him credit. He's investing his money to try to keep the city floating when the city doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Now, I got a message from Randy Knifka, who still follows the IDA and the LDC, right?
Yeah.
Now they're talking about, they're talking about they want to put a parking lot and invest in refurnishing the gas station, Powertain. Like that's some kind of historic, beautiful landmark in our city. First of all, the moment you go in there to try to fix it up after you have a environmental study, you'll realize that there's so much bullshit in there that the cost now to try to fix and clean that up is astronomical.
Yeah, well, you had all the oil and antifreeze and everything else that was inside that garage. Okay,
so now you have
all over the ground.
Now you have an idea. Again, I want to have Pete Frangi come on and explain to me why they think that a city that has is failing, that bars are closing, people are moving off the downtown.
And what's a boat doing parked there? That's not a city boat.
Listen, I have no idea.
I'm just asking.
All I'm saying is that Pete Frangi, come on the show and explain to us. I'd really like to hear you, the head of the IDA. I think you, or is it the LDC?
May I message him and ask him to come on?
Yes, I'm going to, because I need his explanation, because the city is not, it's imploding in a bad way. Ours was exploding. Now it's imploding. And to say that you want to wait to find a better option, there's no options, kid. When the boat's sinking and the only thing you have is your finger, you stick it in the hole. You don't say, I'm going to wait till we get home and find some way to plug that hole. You got to do what you got to do. And if the Bonaquisti brothers, who I love, who were the first investors who turned the Cohoes Hotel into utopia, if they want to give you $250,000 and build the high-end apartments, they still think there's hope, because nobody else is going to do that.
Yeah.
And we don't need another parking lot. You have enough parking lots.
Yeah.
What you need now is people again. We went from having parking lots and no people to having so many people. We need parking lots. They don't need another parking lot. They
Yeah.
need an economic director. They need a new mayor. They need new vision. And they need to get back to what we did 3 years ago. Because I'm telling you, it's almost too late. Because when a city when a city is down to its lowest level, and then it takes off like a rocket ship, and everybody wants to jump on that rocket ship. It's like Bitcoin. Let's get on that rocket ship. And then it starts going down like this again. People leave and they don't come back.
Yeah, that fire was there in 2017. Here we are approaching 2025, and we've done nothing to redevelop that
I mean, they don't even
vital
clean it.
area of downtown Renton.
They don't even cut the weeds. They don't even
No shit.
clean it. A city
Yeah, I
councilman.
mean, it's your main drag, right? As soon as
it's
you
the
turn
nucleus.
left on Columbia Street,
it
it's your
is the
main
nu-
drag, and the first thing you see on the left, okay, is just empty parking lot. You still see Don Russell's gazebo that he built on the back of 220 Remsen Street there. Okay, it should not have been put in there, but then you had the fire down even further. Cohoes carpet that's been there forever. They eventually retired. Okay, so just drive down the street. It just seems to me that 50% of the buildings of storefronts, okay, are closed.
I wish we had a. I wish we had.
Economic director.
No, I wish we had it before and then so people could see
Yeah.
the piss poor job they've done. I'm telling you, Steve Napier, down in history as the worst economic.
Oh, he's
development.
going to run for mayor in 3 years. You
Yeah,
bet.
well, he's going to run for mayor and try to tell you that he's got the best pizza crust or whatever the hell he did last time. You
Yeah,
got
with his
Billy
pizza
Keeler.
cutter and a recipe, and then all of the policies he put on out there, like reopen the Fifth Ward Fire Department, which he never did. So
They're all full of shit.
he's got his shit to run on.
And you got Keeler, who is the worst mayor the city's ever seen. The worst. He's a moron. I talk to business owners. They call me. I talk to them
All the time. Yeah,
trying to talk to this guy. They say, you look at him, he's like just a goof.
yeah,
He doesn't say nothing. He just stares at you like a moron.
yeah.
And you got,
He does this to Adam Biggs too. He stares him down all the time in a threatening way.
well, Adam Biggs ought to stand up because so far I like him. I really do, but he
Yeah.
hasn't done nothing to impress me to be the president of the council. The
Yeah.
council's done nothing to impress me because they're still voting for raises for people that have destroyed things. While we're talking about that, let's jump over there, Timmy.
Yeah,
Let's
3%
jump
of everybody in City Hall seems to have gotten 3% pay raise. But
Well,
you know
listen.
what? And the mayor got his big 21,000 raise, and the common council hasn't gotten a raise, I think, in 8 years, maybe.
Well, but I don't screw the common council because the common council has the right to put in their own raises. And if I was the mayor of the city, I'd say, I'm not going to put nothing in for you. Put in what you want.
Yeah,
You're the council.
yeah,
You have a part of say in this budget. If you think 3% is the right number, they're entitled to raises. I'm not saying people are not entitled to raises, but I look at people like Steve Hennessy, who's got a $30,000 raise over the course of the course of what, 5 years?
5 years.
So they give him $5,000 a year. And so far, all he's done is destroy the city. It's
Yeah.
the dirtiest. The garbage is all over. He's an arrogant prick. He's no good to the employees. 10 employees have left. We're at the lowest level we ever have. If there's a snowstorm, we can't clean up the streets. He's destroyed the city because it is above his pay grade to be the commissioner for a lot of reasons.
Yep.
Yet he now is at $91,000.
Yeah, 91,000, and and we're worse off. I mean,
Worse off? Are you kidding me?
We're
I
at
would
least
love-
down eight DBW employees. They have one mechanic for 50 trucks.
They all quit. Nobody wants to work for him. He treats them like shit. His job, Kenny Radcliffe was, look, I only worked for one commissioner.
Yeah.
Kenny Radcliffe was the best. If I said, Kenny, the streets are dirty, he'd have 10 guys up there with brooms.
Yeah.
Okay. He would not find an excuse to fail. He would always find an excuse to succeed.
Yep.
Matter of fact, he tried so hard never to fail that sometimes I have to say, Kenny, you told me you could do this. And I said, if you didn't think you could, tell me no. But he wouldn't tell you no because he really thought he could get it done.
Yeah.
But 95% of the time, he got done what we needed. The streets in the city were clean.
Yep.
The weeds were gone. The alleyways were picked up. we had a clean city.
Yeah.
Now it's filthy. Maybe Steve can dig holes because maybe that's his forte, digging
That's all
holes.
he can do.
But he certainly doesn't know how to direct people because everybody I talk to hates the guy. And when
Yeah.
you work under the conditions of a Keeler that you don't like and the Steve Hennessy you don't like, nobody's going to stay. And everybody I talked to just the other day, 3 guys run into me. They're
Yeah.
looking for new jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's terrible.
Hey, the county's hiring.
It's just terrible.
Yeah.
And so you have Keeler who is talking about how great financially the city is, but he's begging in the newspaper for more funding. Why he's got a $20,000 raise. His daughter's over 20. His daughter's now at $67,000. She is a secretary.
A secretary to the police chief
Who
is
gets more-
$67,000,
who makes
and
more
our
money-
city clerk is at $46,000.
Right. So a secretary makes more than the clerk of the city.
Yeah,
And the clerk of the city that they hired,
$25,000 more.
yes, and more than the mayor's secretary, more than the clerk of the city, more than a firefighter who starts out. I don't know what year you have to be a fireman and a cop to get to 67, but no secretary, and this ain't no disrespect to them,
Yeah.
should be making more money than the police or the firefighters, okay?
Yeah.
Or there's not a DPW worker who's keeping this city alive making 67 when they got 2-3 years on the job,
Yeah.
unless you're Steve Hennessy who's making 91, which is more money than the mayor. When I was the mayor, that's 20,000 more than I was making as the mayor, okay?
Yep.
The city is taking care of its own. Keeler, 20,000. His daughter, 20,000. His brother-in-law, 20,000. I wish, and I'm not making
It's about 80. I think it's 73,000 or somewhere between the three of them. Okay, since they came in power, I guess.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And
That's why we're down so many employees. They're getting rid of DPW workers there, and they're taking the money that would normally go to them for pay. Okay, they're lining their own pockets.
I don't know if they're doing that. I think they're just taking money.
Seems to me it is.
I just think they're taking now. I don't think it is only because when you look at the budget, those jobs are funded. They're just empty.
Yeah.
So the money's in the budget. So the money's coming somewhere else. They're taking it out of the rainy day fund. They're taking it out of their bullshit tax stabilization fund. You can't get more information because you got to wait. You can't look at the budget in real time and know anything about all this because it's all done in this, these little reports that are done that are only put out every year.
Yeah.
So you got to wait till the year report comes out in April. It's a great process to hide all the stuff that you want to hide.
Well, we're going to find out when they do that audit. I think in January, right?
Well, by the time the audit's done and it comes out, then you got to. That's what
the damage is done anyway. Look, we're $670,000 behind on the solar project that the taxpayers are going to eat. So how many years is it going to take us to make up that money loss that we're waiting on solar?
Here's what I know.
The panels, they're still sitting there all stacked on up, and here we are approaching Christmas.
Well, here's what I know, Timmy. I've had enough for the day. I hope you and your family have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope everybody who's watching the show has a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope that you know that we truly love our city and want nothing but the best for it. But if you are a true Cohoesier, if you're somebody who visited our city, if you are somebody who was here when it was booming just a few years ago and came back to see the disaster, hey, jump on the show, say hi to us, send us a message, let us know what you think, because it isn't just
subscribe.
Yeah, right. Hey, Timmy, thanks. Let me jump
Have a
over
good
here.
Thanksgiving there, Sean.
Hang on, Timmy. No, hang on. You got me. I forgot. That's why we ain't getting. No, we're doing quite well. Subscribe. Timmy's right. Jump over, subscribe, like our show. Please join our show. And hey, we don't have all the answers, and maybe we're missing something, and it's better than we keep saying. But I think that the most important thing right now is not the city's parents. It's not the state
right.
that
And
we're
if you got tips, send them in. I'm going to give you a quick hot tip before we go. You ready?
Go ahead.
Just came on out that the city clerk is not a notary. So if you need to get documents notarized, the only other person in City Hall is, I guess, the city planner, and she's not in her office. So you won't be able to get anything notarized.
How the hell do you hire a clerk that can't notarize stuff? You have to go to the clerk's office to notarize all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Well,
And
there
she
you go.
ca-
That's another a little attention to detail that doesn't matter when you're friends of
right,
Keeler's.
and that came
You
in
just
from
don't
a
have it.
hot tip just today. So just wanted to pass
Well,
that on out.
look, I'm going to put a notary sticker on this. God bless. Have a great Thanksgiving. Love your family. Forget about all of the grievances that you have. Reach out to the people you love. Tell them you love them. Don't wait till it's too late and you're saying to yourself, I wish, I wish, I wish. And
Yep.
today, I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. Timmy, I love you.
Yep.
See
Take
you.
care.